This is Seymour Rocks reporting from Down Under. I just want to go through a few of today's headlines. I'm going to leave out the most important thing, which is abrupt climate change, extreme weather, and the sixth mass extinction, and just concentrate on political and geopolitical news. So the photograph that I've got up here indicates who I consider to be the hero of the hour, but I will return to that in just a minute. The first thing that I found out about when I woke up was this. This is from Abby Martin. Gestapo police invade the Venezuelan embassy and force the remaining protectors out at the barrel of a gun. This is an act of war and a very dark moment in US history. Well, amen. So this is the article from RT on this, and I will leave the links down below. Police with battering ram raid Venezuelan Embassy in DC and arrest anti-coup activists. So I'll just briefly play an item which has just come out from RT.
Over now to the ongoing situation happening right here in Washington, D.C. Armed police have entered the Venezuelan embassy and have begun evicting some of the pro-Maduro supporters inside. Let's get right to it with the latest. RT's Rachel Blevins is there with the details. Rachel, what can you tell us?
Well, I'm here outside of the Venezuelan Embassy in Washington, D.C., where earlier today police broke into the building and arrested the 4 remaining activists who were still inside. Now, what we know is that police entered the building around 9:30 this morning, and those 4 activists were seen being taken away in a police transport vehicle around 11:15. Now, we know that there has been a heavy police presence here on the scene, which includes Secret Service, D.C. Metro Police, and federal agents, and that they have been inside searching the embassy. We've also seen a number of equipment used by those officers, including battering rams, canine units, and we also saw an ambulance here this morning. So there has been a lot going on. Things look like they've been thinning out a little bit now, with a lot of the pro-Guaido protesters coming and going from the scene. Now, I talked to the lawyer for those activists earlier today, and she said that they were actually charged with interfering with a protective order. Now, this is notable because on Monday we saw that police went and issued an order stating that the activists who were inside the building had to leave, or else they would be charged with trespassing and they would be arrested. Now, so far it doesn't look like those 4 activists have been charged with trespassing, but we do know that they have been arrested, and the lawyer said that they have been taken to the police station for processing. Now, this is something that we'll continue to follow, and the lawyer also said that this raises a lot of concerns, not just about laws here, but also about international laws, because the United States government has decided to recognize opposition leader Juan Guaido as the interim president of Venezuela, and so by going into the building and by arresting those activists, they are doing so on behalf of representatives for Guaido, despite the fact that, as the lawyer noted, the United Nations still recognizes the elected government of Venezuela under President Nicolas Maduro. So this is something that we will continue to follow and to bring you all of the latest updates. Reporting here from outside the Venezuelan Embassy in Washington, D.C., Rachel Blevins, RT.
So, anyway, back to the headlines. So the next thing that we come, we jump to John Bolton. I didn't realize that. Anyway, this is the Guardian newspaper, and Guardian's not exactly kind of excelled at being anti-war, only selectively so, and of course they're against the Trump regime, so of course they would be against this. If anyone else was waging the war, they'd probably be for it. So now this is a real scoop. Journalist Whitney Webb recently tweeted a 2010 clip that this is Caitlin Johnston, I think, I'd never seen before, featuring US Security Advisor John Bolton defending the use of deception in advancing military agendas, which highlights something we should all be paying attention to as Trump administration foreign policy becomes increasingly Boltonized. So I found the actual clip, and so I can play that now.
Being revealed.
Now, I want to make the case for secrecy in government when it comes to the conduct of national security affairs, and possibly for deception where that's appropriate. You know, Winston Churchill said during World War II that in wartime, truth is so important it should be surrounded by a bodyguard of lies.
Do you really believe that?
Absolutely.
You would lie in order to preserve the truth.
If I had to say something I knew was false to protect American national security, I would do it. I don't think we're often faced with that difficulty. But would I lie about where the D-Day invasion was going to take place to deceive the Germans? You better believe it.
Why do people in the government think that the rules of society or the laws don't apply to them?
Because they are not dealing in the civil society we live in under the Constitution. They are dealing in an anarchic environment internationally where different rules apply.
But you took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and the Constitution mandates certain openness and certain fairness. You're willing to do away with that in order to achieve a temporary military goal?
And I think, as Justice Jackson said in a famous decision, the Constitution's not a suicide pact.
But you took an oath to it.
That's exactly right. And I think defending the United States from foreign threats does require actions that in a normal business environment in the United States we would find unprofessional. Yeah. I don't make any apology for it.
I prefer.
So there we are. There's one other clip that
it was yet another rocky day when it comes to
sorry about this. I'll see if I can find it. Oh God. Yeah, here we are. So John Bolton is nothing but, if not frank, even if he's
we're looking at the oil assets. That's the single most important income stream to the government of Venezuela. We're looking at what to do to that. We want everybody to know we're looking at all this very seriously. We don't want any American businesses or investors caught by surprise. They can see what President Trump did yesterday. We're following through on it.
So if you think of a company like Citgo, which is owned by PDVSA, which is the state-run oil company there in Venezuela, we have a lot of those Citgo assets right here in the U.S. Is that something, for example, sir, that you're looking at?
Yeah, well, we're in conversation with major American companies now that are either in Venezuela or, in the case of Citgo, here in the United States. I think we're trying to get to the same end result here. You know, Venezuela is one of the three countries I call the troika of tyranny. It'll make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies really invest in and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of the United States. We both have a lot at stake here, making this come out the right way.
Okay, so okay, I just want to get back to something because somehow that's eluded. So do it very briefly. I'm just going to go back to where we started because this is really important. Chelsea Manning gave a press conference earlier on today, which I'm going to be putting up on my blog. But since then, she's been rearrested and she's going back to jail. And she says she'd rather starve to death than testify about WikiLeaks. She said she just couldn't live with herself if she didn't live according to her principles. It was a very, very impressive press conference. So I'll leave a link for that down below. So anyway, yes, I managed to forget about that. So I'll just go back to where we were before. So, yeah, now talking about Bolton, we can't talk about Bolton without talking about Trump. So this is a tweet that someone's put up, retweeted from 2011. Barack Obama will attack Iran in the not too distant future because it will help him win the election. Yeah. And where is he today? Yeah. And meanwhile, oh God, this is all gone out of sync. But anyway, I'll present this in the order in which it comes. More than 5 million children in Yemen risk starving to death as food and fuel prices soar. So this is what American and British and French and other taxpayers are paying for to support the Saudi regime in carrying out genocide in Yemen, all in the name of defeating an Iranian proxy in a civil war. Oh my God. Okay, so well, let's come to back to this. So I'll be saying a lot more about this. Jacinda Ardern has been in Paris, and she's been meeting with Emmanuel Macron and other bigwigs to try and get an agreement to come down on free speech. We'll just say that this article might say it better, and I'll be posting the link for this down below. It's an article in RT. The Christchurch call is a blueprint for more online censorship, and Zuckerberg is a big fan. There's nothing inherently wrong with the new Christchurch call to curb violent and terrorist content online. No one in their right mind wants mass shootings live streamed online, but it's what comes next that should worry us. Well, we know the backstory to that quite well about the live stream, so I won't talk about that here. So, and then the response of the White House was to open up a new website. The Trump administration is fighting for free speech online. Now that seems a little bit odd, isn't it? But no matter what your views, if you suspect political bias has caused you to be censored or silenced online, we want to hear about it. So that's the the Trump administration didn't come to the party on this. And then we come to Sri Lanka, and I've posted about this on my blog before, but it looks like a very good article by Whitney Webb of Mint Press saying that the leaked diplomatic cable suggests Saudi foreknowledge of Sri Lanka Easter bombings. New evidence suggests that the government of Saudi Arabia not only had foreknowledge of the brutal bombings and did nothing to stop them, but may have played a more active and direct role in the bloodshed. And this is from the article. The beginning of the article, she says, a leaked Saudi diplomatic memo obtained by Lebanese outlet Al-Ahad News claims that the government of Saudi Arabia had foreknowledge of the Easter bombings that occurred last month in 3 cities on the island's nation of Sri Lanka, killing nearly 300 and wounding over 500 more. The contents of the memo, which additionally suggests Saudi complicity in the attacks, are supported by the connections recently uncovered by Sri Lankan authorities that the alleged ringleader of the bombings, Zahran Hashim, had to Saudi Arabia. And I've posted on my blog about this before. There was something a week or so ago in Sri Lankan television. So that's it from me. I think I've left out a few things here, but never mind. Those are the headlines of the day.